Everything I've heard since then has been awesome. I've heard he's in shape. I've heard he's lost weight. I've heard there's been so much growth already.
Because everything is so clickbait. I was probably in worse shape with Treylon Burks. Football shape and professional football shape is really, really different.
A few months ago, Tennessee Titans rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks made his debut in Tennessee Titans rookie minicamp. And in this rookie minicamp, there was a moment that went absolutely viral for all the wrong reasons. Treylon Burks was seen laboring, unable to get through his workouts, and as a result had to leave the workout early. This one moment caused a huge rabbit hole where people went into Treylon Burks' conditioning, and it looks like we have an update on this situation. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you want shorter versions of my content, make sure you check us out on TikTok at Microphone NFL and on Instagram at The Flight Mike. And for those of you guys asking about the Fantasy Football League, I'm currently looking for someone to be the commissioner of a $100 buy-in 12-man PPR Fantasy Football League. That tweet got like no attention, so if you're interested in that, I wouldn't have the time to manage a Fantasy Football League, but I would love to play Fantasy Football with my subscribers. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I'm sure all of you remember this video. Treylon Burks was barely able to get through workouts without his hands on his hips and without laboring throughout the workouts. I mean, he was breathing very heavily, and at the end, he had to leave the workouts early. Now, at the time, I did come to this man's defense because, for one, NFL football shape is way different than the conditioning for college football. Two, he was wearing a lot of clothes in Tennessee heat. And three, the poor man had asthma. Unfortunately, we live in a world where when something like this occurs, people love to take the storyline and run away with it. And despite me coming to this man's defense, everyone thought that I was trying to bury the poor guy. But it didn't end there. We came out with an update later on in May, and we found out that Treylon Burks had a difficult time in pre-draft workouts as well. And the crazy part about this is the Tennessee Titans knew about this situation, and despite that, they decided to trade AJ Brown for the pick that became Treylon Burks and ended up drafting Treylon Burks. Now, currently, if you don't know, AJ Brown is absolutely crushing it in training camp, and if you guys want a training camp update on him, let me know in the comment section down below. As a matter of fact, if you want a training camp update on anything in particular, I'm gonna look through the top comments and pick my next training camp update. So make sure you let me know in the comments what you want down below. I think I'm gonna try to do one on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next. And look, man, I know it seems a little odd because Albert Breer, who is someone that we trust of the MMQB, even said that Burks had a weight issue during pre-draft private workouts and labored to get through some of the workouts, which was a red flag for some teams. But the reported issues didn't scare off the Tennessee Titans, who used the number 18 overall pick to select the 6'2", 225-pound wideout from the University of Arkansas. Aside from using the number 18 pick on Burks, the Titans invested heavily in him as the de facto replacement for AJ Brown. Tennessee traded AJ Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles for the 18th overall pick and the 101st overall pick in the third round after being unable to come to terms on a long-term contract with Brown. So as a result of this, from this moment forward, Treylon Burks is going to be compared to AJ Brown. And if you're a football fan, you fall into one of two camps. You either believe that wide receivers aren't worth investing heavily into, or you believe that whenever you find a stud wide receiver, you should do whatever you can to hold on to him. And to be honest, there's arguments for both sides. There's been instances where teams have been able to move on from their star wide receivers, and it worked out just fine for them. I mean, the best example being Minnesota Vikings trading Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills for the pick that eventually became Justin Jefferson. Both teams won that trade in that instance. The benefit of doing this is you no longer have to pay a wide receiver big money, and you can invest that capital elsewhere. But you do take on the risk of potentially getting someone that isn't as good as the former player that you had. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is we have a pretty nice update on Treylon Burks. And to be honest, it's really good news coming from not only Treylon Burks himself, but his quarterback, his fellow wide receiver, and his head coach. So let's start with some info that we got a few days ago before camp. So ex-Titan Ben Trope actually weighed in on Treylon Burks' conditioning. Now, Now, according to Diana Rossini via the Athletic Football Show, I've heard that Treylon Burks is in shape. I've heard he's lost weight. I've heard there's been so much growth already, and this is from an organization that doesn't like to share. Ben Trope even said that Treylon Burks has got to understand they're getting you ready to play every snap. You're trying to be the #1 wide receiver. You don't come out that much if you come out at all. So Treylon has to understand, right, wrong, or indifferent, that he's going to have a lot of scrutiny because they're going to think he's the reason AJ Brown is in Philly, even though it's not the case. Which, to be honest, I don't think the Tennessee Titans looked at Treylon Burks and said,
okay, we're good with moving on from AJ Brown.
I think it was more of a situation where they wanted to save money as much as possible so they could invest that capital elsewhere. The positive thing is, according to Kevin Patra of Around the NFL, Tennessee Titans first-round wide receiver Treylon Burks participated in the start of training camp after being limited during organized team activities and held out of minicamp in part due to asthma issues. Burks even said, I feel a lot different and I feel a lot healthier. It just makes me feel good that I can come out here and play a role and be part of this team.
I would say the teammates are great. You know, every time I have a question or any other rookie have a question, you know, they're very respectful, answer them, you know, just stay on top of everything and keep holding us accountable.
Burks even had this to say about his transition into playing in the NFL for the Tennessee Titans.
I would say my freshman and sophomore year, you know, it was, you know, it kind of messed with me a little bit, but once I got to my junior year, I was so much more acclimated into the system and knowing my role and, you know, wanting to be better at my position, and I just attacked it.
But that's not the only information we have on Treylon Burks. If you think him playing every single down as the Tennessee Titans wide receiver 1 is going to be a little bit intense for him, wait until you see the additional role that Mike Vrabel is going to have for Treylon Burks.
One thing that he showed in college was that he was tough to tackle, you know, with the ball in his hand, that he was, he could run after the catch, and so hopefully just trying to find as many places to get guys that can help us, and if he can catch and secure and make the first guy miss, you know, then he has a chance to help us. But most importantly, he's got to be able to take care of the football. And I would say that there hasn't been an evaluation for the punt return job, catching it from the jugs, maybe a few from the punter, from Stoney or Brett. But without gunners coming at you or without live action, that's been hard to, you know, evaluate. I think that he's getting more comfortable catching them, and you know, hopefully we can see him out there in preseason.
But it seems like he has the respect of his teammates, because at the same time, you're having Ryan Tannehill praise him for holding himself accountable.
No doubt, accountability is huge, especially in this program. You know, it starts from the top and trickles its way down. So having that awareness of just knowing when it's not perfect, when you did miss an opportunity, being able to recognize that and try to rectify it as you move forward is huge. So proud of him and the way he's come out, you know, this fall and off to a good start.
And then, of course, when you have a veteran like Robert Woods praising you as well, then things are clearly trending upwards for Treylon Burks.
Be out here, I know it kind of started from what I saw. You guys were saying asthma and not being able to practice and stuff, and him first being able to be out here and practice and showcase his ability, being on the field was a big aspect for him. And for us and for everybody, really, just him being able to showcase his talents, being able to make plays on day one, showcase his speed, his size, and he's going to be a big player for us, and really just need him to be available.
So if you look at all of this footage that we brought for you from training camp, and bear in mind, at the time that we're making this video, we've only had 2 training camp sessions in so far, it seems like Treylon Burks has definitely lost a little bit of weight and is also working towards getting fully conditioned for a rigorous NFL season. Now, I don't know if he's there yet. That's the reason why you have mini camps. That's the reason why you have OTAs. It seems like a lot of people tend to be impatient with these types of things. It's not like he's going full on Jamarcus Russell, pretending to watch film and not necessarily caring about his conditioning. This is a man that is clearly trying to transition into the NFL, and it's just taking him some time. I feel like some players can more seamlessly transition to a NFL workload than other players, and I think that's 100% normal. At the end of the day, I think Treylon Burks is going to be a huge problem once he finally plays for the Titans in week 1, primarily because this looks like a guy that's very difficult to tackle, and when you combine that with stellar conditioning, then he's going to be even more of a problem. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this. I personally think the story was blown out of proportion a little bit, and make sure you comment down below and let me know what team we should do a training camp update on next. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.